I'm Julian Fack, and this is the car I built in 1975. And this is built to the National Trials Formula rules, which are fairly basic and easily understood. Essentially, they set the minimum wheelbase, that's the length between the wheels. They set the minimum track, that's the width. And they set the position where the people can sit. And it's a two-seat car, and the seat must not be behind the centre line of the rear wheels, so you can't have a seat out here. The engine position is also determined in the rules, and it's a strange rule which has been around since the early 50s. The front spark plug of the engine must be no more than 1/5 of the wheelbase back from the front axle. And that rule has never changed. It was there in the early 50s. This particular car is left-hand drive, but there's no particular technical reason, and it has no effect on the performance of the car. So the most important controls on the car are the fiddle brakes. These are one brake for each rear wheel. So the cars don't have much weight on the front, even though the engine's in the front, and they do tend to understeer terribly. So in order to make them turn, we want to use the brakes like slewing brakes on an agricultural tractor. Give you some idea of the weight of the car. It's light. So you use the brakes to turn. So when you turn the steering wheel, turn it that way, you pull that brake at the same time. You're not locking the wheel, you're just dragging it. That's the first use of the brakes. The second use of the brakes is when you go up a cross camber, and that is where one wheel is going to be light, and you apply a bit of brake to prevent that wheel spinning. Really important aspects of the car. We want a really good steering lock. The cars will turn very tightly. And we want an engine that will run over a massive rev range. We want an engine that will pull strongly from below idle. Ideally about 500 RPM. These things idle typical road cars idle at about 800. We want the engine to pull from nothing. The reason for that is to avoid spinning up a wheel. So as if you were driving on snow, you're putting the minimum of power through the wheels, minimum torque. And then at the same time, you want an engine that will accelerate you up this slope, get some speed on in a very short distance. You've got what, 8 yards maybe of flat there to accelerate on. So you need to be able to accelerate from nothing to a reasonable pace on the flat before you start rolling the power off to get up the hill. And you can roll the power right off to almost nothing. The third thing is, the cars are very, very small, and you've got to fit 2 people in them, and you've got to cool them. And that's difficult because with good lock, the front's very narrow and the suspension takes up space underneath. Very difficult to get a decent sized radiator on. So you need to be able to cool them. And there's no wind going through at all. You're not going fast enough to get any wind through the radiator. So they have to be tough enough to withstand some pretty robust treatment, but they have to be light enough that there's not much effort required to push them up the hill. And as I said, this car is now 50 years old.
Oh, so good.